accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Planning Board of the Township has been provided. If everyone could please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Carl Hauk.
Here.
Alex Karazi.
Here.
Cecile McIver.
Here.
Robert Mettler.
Here.
Mustafa Manzarek asked to be excused. Charles Brown.
Here.
Robert Thomas. Jennifer Ragnow.
Here.
Godwin Amalola.
Here.
And Chairman Orsini.
Here. So before we start tonight, let me just make a couple of administrative announcements. If anyone is here for Victory Subaru or John Sudia, both of those have been carried to June 6th with no further notification needed. So if you're here for those, come back on June 6th. Have a good night. All right. So the hearing we have tonight is S squared G squared. Okay, so minutes for the regular meeting.
Move to approve if there's no discussion.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Carl Hauk.
Yes.
Alex Karazi. Oh, wait, I don't think you were there. Yeah, he was there.
Yes,
Mike, can
it
I
says
ask
he was present.
Mike, may I ask a question, Mike? Or Pete, maybe?
No.
He was here to start, but then he doesn't listen because usually they're Lanfords. Can he?
I'd rather he abstains then.
Okay.
I mean, he sort of can, but not really. You're welcome.
Thank you. Sort of can, not really. Thank you.
Well, I mean, he could conceivably, pass on the portion of the meeting that he was at, but really, at that point, it seems kind of silly. Have him abstain.
Doesn't amount to much.
Okay, Cecile McIver.
Yes.
Robert Mettler.
Yes.
Mustafa's not here. Charles Brown.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Alex. Again. Cecile McIver.
Yes.
Robert Mettler.
Yes.
And Jennifer Ragnow.
Yes.
Godwin Amalola.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
We have the resolution.
PLN 17-00001. Move to
Yes.
approve.
I've
You forgot all your
No, I
O's.
decided I'm going.
Okay. Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Carl Hauk.
Yes.
Cecile McIver.
Yes.
Robert Mettler.
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow.
Yes.
Godwin Amalola.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
Plan 18-00001. Move to approve.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Carl Hauk.
Yes.
Cecile McIver.
Yes.
Robert Mettler.
Yes.
Charles Brown.
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
Yes. And lastly,
Plan 16-00007. Move to approve.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Carl Hauk.
Yes.
Cecile McIver.
Yes.
Robert Mettler.
Yes.
Charles Brown.
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
no, we didn't.
Next.
Next meeting. Vouchers, so, planning board attorney.
Yep.
And for, can I do these together?
Move to approve both of those.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Carl Hauk.
Yes.
Alex Karazi.
Yes.
Cecile McIver.
Yes.
Robert Mettler.
Yes.
Charles Brown.
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow.
Yes.
Godwin Amalola.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Next portion of the meeting is public comment, so.
I'll check and see.
Second the motion.
Seeing no one coming forward, I would move that this public hearing be closed.
Second. Aye.
Right on to our hearing, S squared G squared.
You're gonna need to use that. You're gonna need to.
Yeah.
Hold it close to your mouth.
Hello?
Yes.
Bingo.
We'll go with the one that works.
So good evening. My name is Ben Branch. I'm an attorney from the law firm of Schaeferman Lakin in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. I'm here on behalf of S Squared G Square LLC, which is a solar developer that's doing a project on 80 Cottontail Lane. The project itself is for carports to be installed over the parking lot. We had previously obtained an administrative approval for the carports for the site plan, and then a portion of the carports are inside the setback on the second front yard, because there's two front yards to this building. So originally, when the plans were submitted, if it was considered a backyard, we are inside the 50-foot setback, but now because of the fact that it is considered a second front yard, there's a 75-foot setback. So what we're asking for is a variance to approve those panels to be put onto the current structure that's in place. I have additional plans if anyone needs a copy of them. We sent plans that actually have a portion of the panels in red, and that's the portion of the panels that we're talking about. And I also brought Brad Carlson with me, who is an engineer who also helped prepare the plans for any questions. Because of the fact that it is a variance for those panels, I'm not sure how much the board wants me to get into testimony at this point. We're happy to go through a full testimony and expert, or if you guys want any additional information, just ask questions. I'm happy to proceed how you prefer.
Since on its face this seems a really simple matter, why don't you just tell the board why it is that you have to put these in the setback, where the setback is. I know it adjoins 287, but if you want to just talk a little bit about that, and then justify it according to the type of variance you're seeking in terms of, planning language, which our attorney, I'm sure, will insist on. I think that'll do the trick.
So I'll deal with the first issue is, in order to get the variance, we need inherently beneficial use. By statute, under 40:55 DU, there's an inherently beneficial use in solar. So we already satisfy that requirement, so that's the positive criteria. As to the adverse consequences, I try to think of an adverse consequence. The only possible adverse consequence I could argue is that someone doesn't like it visually, but again, that's an opinion. So it was really hard for me to determine if there are any adverse consequences with regard to the panels themselves. It doesn't change the impervious ratio, and I'll have Brad talk about this, but it doesn't change the current impervious ratio for the property, and I guess it's beneficial to not only the occupants of the building and the owner of the building, but also the community as a whole.
A quick question, how tall, these are solar panels, right? How tall are they?
Off the ground.
Yeah.
The lowest point for.
Oh, okay, just hold on a second. We need to swear you in.
If you could
and
raise your
make sure
right hand for me, and do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I certainly do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your professional address, please.
It's Thomas Carlson, and it's Carlson, and my address is 5824 Bee Ridge Road, Sarasota, Florida.
Perfect, thank you.
And you're testifying tonight as a licensed professional engineer?
As systems designer.
Systems design. Are you licensed? Where are you licensed?
The engineer who works for us is out of Vineland. We use a local licensed engineer here in the state of New Jersey.
And that was the engineer that designed this?
That
And so
prepared these
you're
documents, yes.
representing his work?
I am.
How does that work there, Peter?
You're not a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey?
I am not, sir.
Okay. Typically, we want our professionals to be licensed within the state, so I,
Can he give factual testimony as opposed to an opinion?
he can certainly testify as to what anybody can testify as to what the plans say. I mean, the plans are the plans, and they were prepared by an engineer. Typically, we have an engineer proffer the plans.
Well, why don't we let him do that? Because I mean,
Not good,
I think most of what you would say is technically related, like the height of the panels and things of that nature. I mean, if we were to go into the entire plan, then I would probably have to bring you back with your Vineland engineer. I don't think we have to do that. So, yeah, let's see where things go. And you may want to just give him your mic if you're not talking, because it seems to be the one that works. We'll try to find you one of the other ones in the meantime. And
Just to address one potential issue to alleviate some of the concern, also these plans are certified by the engineer, who's a licensed engineer in New Jersey. So as these plans are, Mr. Carlson can testify about what the plans say. He also has a background in construction, and he's been involved in solar for a number of years and the installation. So somebody who's been as involved in it as he knows how to read these plans, and he understands exactly what is being done here, because he's been actively involved in this project for a while. So he's not going to testify about anything or opine as to any New Jersey statute or ordinance requirements, but he can testify about what the plans say and on the project itself. And if you need more, then we will do what's necessary.
understood.
I think we'll be okay. Go.
So I would be happy to take any questions regarding the height or,
Yeah, so there was a question about the height, so why don't you address that, and any other questions, the board may have. What I would like to know, just for justifying your variance as inherently beneficial, is why this necessarily, by design on the plan, would have to encroach into the, just the reason it encroaches into the setback. And maybe, I know the setback is against 287, so probably nobody sees it unless they're zipping by at 65 miles per hour, but you just may want to testify as to what it looks like on the site in terms of what somebody passing it by would see, if there's any detrimental effect. And that's pretty much, I think, what the board would need to know and make an informed decision. Of course, the board can ask any questions they want to based on the plan.
that's a whole lot of information you're requesting. The visuals, it's actually difficult to see them as you're driving by. I mean, there's, during the spring, fall, and summer, tree cover covers the entire parking lot, so you more than likely won't see them from 287 or the exit ramp. During the winter, they're horizontal, so you're looking basically at the side of them, so the visual aspect of seeing it from 287 or the exit ramp is minimal at best. In terms of the beneficial aspects of that, I'm only speaking for the owner. I mean, we're offering covered parking as well as solar to offset their energy consumption usages in the building. When I originally met several times with zoning preliminarily, the survey we had showed the rear yard setback was 50 feet. The system was originally designed for it. With the sections that we're asking you to approve, and then zoning called us and said, and they were really helpful with it, said, listen, this is an unusual situation. It's a double front yard. So during the course of a couple of meetings with the zoning officials, we determined that we could proceed with the first segment of it, which is all within the current town guidelines, and then apply for a variance for the backside section. There were several things that we had to address when we were in the design phases. One was, actually two were most significant, and that's the height of the low height is 14 feet, which is high enough to accommodate any type of emergency vehicle. And the setbacks from the building, the solar couldn't encroach over the parking stripes in front of the building on two sides, so that it wouldn't impact the fire. we made corrections to that and changed the design to accommodate those requests and moved forward with the first section.
So, but for the fact that this was called a front yard instead of a backyard, we wouldn't be here.
That's correct.
That's correct.
That is correct.
And
you look
and
at-
to be clear, that's why the plans before you, the solar panels that are in black, they received administrative site plan approval because they met all of the setbacks. It's only that section red that has been discussed that technically doesn't meet because it is a front yard along 287. So that's the portion, that's why they're here. And
And
there is, I'm looking at my phone, there is a vegetative buffer, so I think the testimony that was provided, I think during the spring, summer, and fall as testified, probably won't even see it, let alone people are going 55 miles per hour. Maybe you'll get a glancing shot in the winter, but then you have a 5-story building behind it anyway.
If I may to that, actually, your so-called second front yard is not really on 287, but on the exit
On the
ramp.
exit ramp.
So you're not going 55 miles an hour. And I think some of them are already built because I did see them as I was exiting 287. So I have no problem, but I'm just suggesting that, it's not that the cars are going 55 miles an hour. At least I hope they're not on the exit ramp.
Depends how fast our car accelerates.
Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, thanks, Bob, for pointing out. Does any other member of the board have any questions or concerns for either the attorney or the engineer? Ted?
Well, there's the question which is raised in the TRC report. Where are the trees going to be planted? You describe trees, you have details for planting trees, but the plan doesn't show where they're going to be planted, and presumably they're not going to block the sun off the solar cells.
We did remove some smaller caliper trees. There were some trees that had been previously damaged in the storm, and we have a current quotation for the replacement of those trees. And at the time of completion, we'll be planting those trees and asking for a zoning inspection, for the approval on that material.
But I think that perhaps there was like a layer turned off on the plans, but as Councilman Chase said, you identify, I forget the number, X number of this type of tree, X number of that, but then it just doesn't show up on the plan. So you need to show it in some way.
Sure, I'd be happy to
The
do that,
plans
sir.
normally would show where the trees are going to be
Okay,
planted.
I'd be happy to provide that, along with the quote for the replacement.
I do have some pictures also on my computer if anyone would like to see them of the current panels and the vegetation around them. If anyone would like to see them, I'm happy to pull them up for you.
Anybody on the board wants to see it?
Yes, I would like to see
I would
it.
like to see it. A visual is better than imagination, right? So let's go for it.
And to answer one of your questions that you asked earlier, and
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, all right. So here's the thing that Peter just pointed out. It's a good point. We can't mark the exhibit. We can't distribute it to the board. We can't put A1 on his computer.
You don't want to leave your computer with us, I know you.
So we really
Not really.
can't.
I think somebody at
We
your
really
front
can't
is
enter
really
that.
upset.
We really can't enter that. We could give a verbal description.
I think that would be a perfect way. If you want to look at it and tell us what it looks like, and unless you have a copy in your file that you can give us a copy of, I just.
I have a lot of them in my phone, but I don't want to leave it either.
You don't leave your phone either, right? We can end up with a whole lot of electronics here very quickly.
I just want to reiterate one more thing too, which you asked and it was answered, but I want to make sure it's really clear. The only reason we are here is because we're treating this as 2 front yards. If it was any other property, we wouldn't even be here today. So I think that's important to take into consideration when you're looking at the variance and whether or not it's appropriate.
Duly noted.
While he's looking at it, what will be the kilowatt hour you're going to be producing from these solar panels?
How much electricity?
Uh-huh.
About 750,000 kilowatt hours. That's about 40% of the building's average consumption.
Pretty good.
I could now understand why you said it's going to be beneficial to the public, because that saves a lot of energy in that environment. I mean, electricity-wise and consumption. So that makes sense.
I thought I had pictures, copies of the pictures with me because I actually sent copies to the DNR Canal also. Unfortunately, I'm not finding, I don't think my sister made a copy of the pictures when she sent that out. So, if you look at the pictures, the vegetation is actually relatively high compared to the panels. The panels themselves are nice. The design of the panels is nice. The space for cars underneath is actually pretty high. And the other advantage that you have from these panels too is they're going to have lights underneath so that there's specific lighting down for the cars as people are going out in the evenings, especially in the winter. And it's going to create the opportunity so that those who are employed in that building will not walk out and have to shovel snow off of their cars. And so there's a number of significant advantages in addition to the solar aspect.
And I can honestly tell you that having worked 4 weekends in a row through the snow, there's a race to get to those parking spaces.
Any other board comments or questions, Ted?
When it rains, where does the runoff from the panels go?
Goes to the existing impervious.
Concentrates it in a fewer places, though.
Actually, I'm sorry. Actually, it concentrates it over top the existing drains, which are actually in the middle of the parking aisles. So the rain it drops down into the parking line, and all the drains along that parking lot are along that line.
Okay, good.
Anything else anybody wants to ask that we can answer? No? Okay, so I guess we can open to the public. There's only
Make
one
a motion
public
to
here, but we
Open
have
to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody from the public want to come forward?
Seeing no one coming forward, I would move that this public hearing be closed.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So, any summation that you'd want to make other than what you've already said? Probably not.
To some, I mean, to me, it seems pretty simple. It actually, to be honest with you, if you've driven by and take a look at it, it looks like it's missing something without that other half of the panels. That other half of the panels is actually going to make it more visibly attractive than it currently is, if you ask me. So that's one of the reasons why I was hoping to be able to pull the pictures up so you could take a look at it. So that's basically it, and there's no negative aspects to it. So I appreciate all your time. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve this application.
And then can you condition the tree plan that they'll?
Well,
Agreed to that.
well, will that
All
be
right,
subject to
pardon.
Mark's report? Yeah,
Oh,
the TRC would oversee that.
Okay.
So with that condition,
I'll second.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Oral Hauk,
Yes.
Alex Crosby,
Yes.
Cecile McIver,
yes.
Robert Mettler,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Godwin Amalula,
Yes, please.
and Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Hey, have a great night. So our next meeting is June 6th? All right. Make a motion to adjourn.
I assume there's no work session or new business.
What? A motion to adjourn.
June 6th,
Second.
right?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night.